I know you like to see me fall.
Yeah, it's fun.
And stumble, but you just know way
Try
more
to
than I
walk
do
away
about this
and
shit.
I choke. Try some song and I stumble. Remember that song?
Yeah, Macy Gray.
Try to hide
Terrible
it.
song.
It's clear.
Hate that song so much.
Welcome back to Asinine Radio, a weekly podcast where we talk about music, and, well, that's pretty much it. So, let's go!
This is Asinine Radio. This is the weekly music podcast where every week we get into a different band, different artist, different group, and we break down one of their records. We get into the music, the lyrics, how it was made, where it was made, the artwork, and everything in between. My name is Tyler, and way out there, hundreds of miles away, is Jeff. And while you're listening, go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, give us 5 stars and 5 stars only. Please go do that. All the social media is at Asinine Radio. So what are we doing today, Jeff? Go.
We are doing the Wu-Tangs and their Enter the Wu-Tang, parentheses, 36 Chambers.
There you go. Yeah, so this is their debut record from 1993. It doesn't feature all of the members because one of them was in jail, Mr. Capadonna himself. But no, this is definitely a monumental record that inspired many artists going forward. So yeah, with that being said, what's your kind of what is your origin story with the Wu-Tang Clan? Go.
So, like, growing up in the Southern California area, like, we were inundated with gangsta rap as we were going through middle schools. It was part of our culture. It is what it is. And going to a predominantly Mexican, like, middle school, it was kind of like a point of pride. Like, a lot of kids would ask, like, how many Wu-Tang members you know? And, like, the more you could rattle off, like, the more cred you have or some shit like that. So I don't know. But I remember like being in middle school and only being able to rattle off like 3 or 4 of them, which a lot of the other kids were doing like 7, 6, 7, sometimes 8. Like no one ever got like all of them. But yeah, it was just, I don't know, it was just a thing. And like the Wu-Tang was they weren't like a group. They weren't like a hip hop outfit. They were already a conglomerate. And we were in middle school, that was like 99?
Yeah.
Right? 99?
Yeah. 98, 99.
Because
yeah.
2001, we were in high school. So yeah, like 99 was like our golden years of middle school. And so that was already like Wu-Tang had dropped. And then we had a lot of like other side projects going out. So I don't know. I never got into like the Wu-Tang the way I am now until probably like high school, until I really got into 36 Chambers. But I like Method Man a lot because I don't know, like he smoked pot and he was cool and he was funny and like he did a lot of stuff with Redman. Like that was cool. He had a cool persona and I think that was easy to attach yourself to because he laughed, he smiled.
Mm-hmm.
Raekwon has never fucking smiled. Ghostface for sure has never fucking smiled in his life. And so when you see like a hip hop artist smile and kind of have fun, you gravitate towards them. And then that led me to ODB, and then that led me to like the Wu-Tang entirely. So I would say like middle school-ish.
Middle schoolish? All right. Yeah, I mean, so I had always kind of heard of Wu-Tang like in middle school, especially once And Together Now from Limp Bizkit came out because Method Man was on that. Like when that came out, that's when I was like kind of introduced to Wu-Tang, but only by association, obviously. And then, all the stuff with him and Redman were really popular with the How High movie and whatever else they were doing. But I don't remember ever hearing their solo stuff. Only what was on the Limp Bizkit record. And then I remember seeing a lot about ODB at the time because he was always in a lot of trouble. I remember there was this like MTV like short documentary about ODB back in the late 90s or early 2000s. And it was really controversial because he I guess like he never claimed any of his like money over the years. So he was still getting welfare checks. And on camera, he went to the welfare office and cashed one of his welfare checks and was like making fun of the whole system and everything. And he got all this fucking backlash for it. Do you remember that shit?
Yeah, I remember that shit. Of course.
Thing was fucking huge. But yeah, really, that was all I really knew about Wu-Tang were those two members, Method Man and ODB. But I only knew about them. And then once I started working at Tower Records, like in '06, there was these two guys I worked with, Marlo and Sean, and they, I mean, especially Marlo, they fucking loved conscious hip hop. They love the underground hip hop scene, and they would always play Wu-Tang. They would always play Wu-Tang, Tribe, Jay Dilla, like just all this like hip hop that I had never heard, Far Side, all that kind of shit. They were playing that stuff in the store, so that was like my first proper introduction to Wu-Tang. And then, you know, years go on, and then a few years back, we started getting more, or I started getting more into it because we started talking about it on the pod. But that's like the three phases of my Wu-Tang journey, like knowing about them initially, hearing them for the first time, and then actually getting into them like 4 or 5 years ago. So that's really my progression, my origin story with the group.
Mm-hmm.
But with that being said, let's get into, I mean, I'll just say this. You are way more knowledgeable in the hip hop thing than I am. I mean, so I'm going to need a lot of help. I'm going to be thinking a lot. I know you like to see me fall.
Yeah, it's fun.
And, you know, stumble, but you just know way more.
Try to walk away and I choke. Try some song and I stumble. Remember that song?
Yeah, Macy Gray.
Terrible
song.
It's clear.
I fucking hate that song so much. It's so bad. I don't get why it was so popular. But anyway,
she had a big old fro.
So
it was a good fro.
So it was a terrible song. I don't care about her fro.
It was a good fro though.
Terrible song. It was fine. It was fine. No Omar fro, but it was fine. What's your first impressions on Wu-Tang, Enter the Wu-Tang, 36 Chambers?
So I'll start and end this with like a sandwich here. Like I'm gonna start this my thing here, and I'll end my record wrap up with the same thing. I think this is the greatest hip hop album of all time. I do. I in every way, shape, or form. I think this is
objectively or
both.
Okay.
I think this did so much for hip hop. I think this took everything from earlier days and it just elevated it to a better level. I think no other outfit has ever done what this album achieved. You get fucking like more than 3 guys on an album, and it's people are stepping over each other. Here, it's like a point of pride to have more than 3 guys on one track and have it not sound like shit. And you don't get that. You don't get that. It's impossible. You can't do it. And they did it. And
they did it well.
So I think like my first impressions of this is just this album gets better. This album gets better with age because the more we hear, and I like some of these guys' songs I'm gonna throw out here. The more we hear, like Drake, who's so fucking popular on Spotify, who has so many goddamn listens. The more we hear Drake, it's like, damn, bro, like you can barely carry your own tunes that are just, there's so many people writing for you. There's so many producers on there. You know, your Blink-182 status there. There's a lot of people ghostwriting for you, and you can still barely carry that shit. And you have 1 billion listens, but these guys are like literally fighting each other over this top spot. Like, who's going to be the first verse on this track? Who's going to close this track out? Who's going to be the middle verse? Like, these guys are like battling it out, and it sounds better than like anything you've ever heard. And then it's just like the production. The production of this is bad. It's B movie, but it's intentional. It's intentional, and it's supposed to sound like that.
It's intentional because they didn't have anything better to work with, equipment-wise.
But they didn't want to either. They didn't strive to get better equipment. They said, "This is what we got. How can we make the best sound with what we got?" They could have, like dropped that first single and then took that money because they had the single first before the album came out, and they made a little bit of money on that, and it blew up. But they said, "No, let's just like take all that money, kind of just pocket it. Let's buy some weed. Let's get back in the studio and make a fucking rad album." But they could have like spent that money and reinvested that into themselves and bought like better equipment, bought better studio time, went to a better studio. But they purposely
went to an actual like label.
Yeah, but they purposely
done that.
Like kept with Loud Records and went to like that shitty fucking studio and then recorded an album that was like this. It was very representative of their upbringings, who they were as people, and that that kind of aesthetic. You don't get you just don't get past like essentially like Dre's The Chronic. Past that, you don't get that aesthetic. Like that was it. Get like rap is now mainstream. Rap is now money making. Past like The Chronic, that is it. Everything else after that, rap is now making money. Prior to the Chronic, like rap is still kind of underground. Rap is still seen as like second class shit. And
even NWA was still, Yeah, it was very popular, but it was still underground. It was still it hadn't reached the success that hip hop was in the mid '90s, for sure.
And then this definitely did not reach that kind of success. It was slow. It was a slow burn. It eventually did, and it turned into something bigger than rap has ever seen. But I don't know.
Yeah, I would agree too. I mean, I think objectively, this is one of the best. It's not my favorite hip hop record, but this is definitely one of the best, one of the most influential. I mean, you see artists from every generation after this, every kind of subgenre of hip hop, reference Wu-Tang, from Kanye to Jay-Z to even like the big heavy hitters of the West Coast. They talk about Wu-Tang. I think even some of the later albums, Dre was on a couple songs where he produced a couple of the songs instead of RZA. Like, it's just everybody respects Wu-Tang no matter what. And I think that really says something, that the top producers, you're Kanye, one of the greatest hip hop producers of all time, credits Wu-Tang for his style. And Dre too, one of the greatest hip hop producers as well, credits Wu-Tang. I mean, kind of, in a way, not the way Kanye did, because for obvious reasons, but yeah, it's just, I think objectively this is one of the most important hip hop records of all time, hands down. And it's also like the least talked about in the mainstream, which is crazy when you think about it too, right?
Yeah.
When you think about hip hop, you think NWA, you think Biggie, Tupac, Dre, Eminem, Kanye, you think of that shit. But then Wu-Tang's always kind of like in the background. It's just like, unless you really like hip hop, you're not going to know who Wu-Tang is. It's crazy. It's fucking crazy. But they are so important to the scene, and it just kind of sucks that I don't feel like they're given enough credit for what they did for the scene and this record in general. So,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. There's a whole, because they created a concept, a universe, a lore, but they also kind of like surreptitiously showed us, like, non-black people, why Kung Fu was so important to, like, their community and where they grew up and why they love it so much. And it was cool.
It was really cool. And what I also really like about Wu-Tang is that they did, for the most part, they've done everything in-house. Like 90% of what they've all done has been in-house with RZA or the other Wu-Tang guys or something along those lines. I mean, and this record, I mean, RZA did everything. He literally did all the beats. He rapped on some of the songs, but then it's just like, he didn't mix or master the album. But I mean, this is straight up their record. Like they had no real label support. Like we mentioned, they had shitty equipment, and unfortunately, that's why we're never gonna hear like a high fidelity, really nice version of this record, because it was recorded like shit. It's almost like going back to like a Robert Johnson recording and expecting to hear something like super fucking nuanced and great. Like, it's just, you're not going to hear it. It's not going to happen. It was recorded shittily, and that's just the way it's going to be. It's going to be stuck like that forever. You're never going to make it better. So
good.
I love it. I love it for that.
I think that was like a deliberate attempt at the RZA for realizing that, yes, we can do better. I just don't want to. I want to record this to tape. That way forever it'll be etched in stone that this record sounds like this. Let's prop ourselves up on focusing on the lyricism, on the delivery, and not worry so much about the production. But damn, the production's good.
The production's great, and also I think they just didn't want the extra hands in their decision making. I don't think they wanted the label, saying, "Oh, well, you probably shouldn't be talking about this. You guys should be more serious about it." Because I mean, really, when you listen to this record, it's like, dude, these guys are all having a blast. They're all having a really, really good time. I mean, yes, there are a lot of skits, but they don't drag on like the ODB solo record. There's too many. Like, it's just it's too much. There's the right amount here on this one, and I wouldn't say that they're necessarily funny, but they're definitely skits to where like you get like, these guys are having a good time. They're like brothers. I wouldn't even say they're like best friends or anything. They act like brothers, and you see it like throughout the history of the group too. Like, there are points in time where some of them aren't getting along, and they kind of like they kind of branch off and do their own thing with a couple of the other members, but then they eventually come back and reunite as Wu-Tang, and then come out with a record or tour, do whatever they do. And I think that's so cool. Like, they've all, for the most part, they've all stuck together with nothing too major outside of ODB's death. outside of anything too major happening with them, which I think is so fucking rad. You never see that. These guys have been around for 30 years. This is 30 years since this record came out. And they're still out there playing shows and shit and just kind of doing their thing. And what's cool about them too is like they're not reaching for fame. They're not trying to do something to make them popular. Like they know where they stand in hip hop history and they're cool with it. They just want to have a good time. It's fucking super rad.
So
like,
good.
Yeah, it's really good.
There's so much going on here that it's just not. It's like what other hip hop artists or what other fucking musical artist has built this kind of world? Right? Built this kind of universe. Like this takes work. This takes work.
Agreed. And funnily enough, this album came out November 9th, 1993. So just 2 days ago. 30 years, 2 days ago.
I know, right?
Isn't that fucking... That's crazy.
Fuck yeah.
I mean, because we were planning on doing this episode like a month ago, but I ended up getting pretty sick. So we pushed it off for 3 weeks to end good season with this one. And it just coincidentally happens to be almost exactly 30 years since the release of this record that we're doing it. So that's pretty cool.
Did you just hear me call you a bitch for getting sick?
Oh, yeah, I heard you say that. I just didn't want to acknowledge it.
That's like such a disrespectful thing to do.
It is.
Is call somebody a bitch for getting sick. Something you have zero control over whatsoever.
But then me ignoring you and then you having to ask me again makes you sound like a bitch.
No, it makes you sound even more like a bitch because you responded. You could have just said, yeah, I did. Let's move on. But you didn't. That's all right.
There's fucking helicopters. Like, seriously, there's fucking helicopters.
I hear zero helicopters.
Oh, gosh.
I honestly, there's so much like I want to talk about. There's so much the lore and side quests, and that's what it's like. This is like playing like an RPG, and then like, do I start with side quests? Do I want to build up my character first?
Okay.
Do I want to get into the
this
main
guy
storyline?
who hates RPGs? Come on.
I hate traditional like JRPGs, but I like RPGs. Like Destiny's an RPG.
Destiny's not an RPG.
Fallout's not. What makes it not an RPG?
It's not an RPG.
How is it not?
It's not an RPG.
It's just a first-person shooter instead of like a third person. That's whatever. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway,
it's an RPG.
we're not going to go down that.
I don't even know where to start. Like I don't. Do you want to start like from the beginning? Their influences, why they made this record, how they became friends. Do you want to just like get into your favorite songs? What do you want to do here?
Well, let's jump into the album for a little bit, and then we'll touch more upon the history and things like that. So, do you have any stinkers on this one?
No, I actually only listed. I listed 4 of my biggest bangers. Because I do think this record is perfect. I think every song on here is a banger. I really focused on my biggest 4.
Okay. I mean, I will say I have no bangers on this one either. And really the top, I would say the top 6 or top 5 are really, they're untouchables. For sure untouchables. But after that, they're really great songs. But yeah, definitely. I at least want to touch upon my top 5 or 6.
Your favorite song better not be Method Man. Like I'm just saying.
Oh, we'll see, dude.
Well, let's get into your 1B. What's your 1B?
Why do we have to get to my 1B first?
Because now I'm already irritated. That's why.
No, it's Shame on a Ninja.
Shame on a Ninja. That's a good one.
Yeah. That's my 1B.
Because guess what my 1B is?
Was it Method Man?
Shame on a Ninja. That's my 1B, baby. This is straight up fun. It's goofy. It's like the best posse cut. I think this is the most fun posse cut like we've ever heard in hip hop. That piano sample is what layers the song. The song is all aggression, but that piano like lick just makes it like a little lighter and gives it like a nice little contrast. It kind of undercuts everybody's aggression into this like lighthearted tone.
Yeah, definitely. Perfect. It's just it's the brass samples. They really dive into that sample, and it's fucking kind of louder in the mix, but it also has that super heavy beat underneath it all too. It's really good. Some really good scratches too. I forgot who did the turntables on this record. I can't even think of his name right now. I forgot the DJ, but there's some really good scratching. It's what?
Probably LP.
Does he even do that? I don't even think LP does that stuff.
No, I don't think so. He was too late. No, it was another person in the Wu-Tang family, like this Disciples or something.
Yeah, I don't remember his name though. Yeah, whatever. But it's like Mixmaster Mike, never part of the Beastie Boys or Money Mark, but was always there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's some good, some really good scratches on this one too. There's some good stuff. And I mean, the first verse, ODB coming in pretty damn sloppy, but it's solid. It's endearing. It's quirky. It's fun. And then Method Man, second verse comes in, just, Method Man doing his thing. He fucking kills it, right? And then Raekwon, it's good on this, but I feel like it's kind of hard to follow Method Man. You don't have that smoothness, that kind of, that style, that flow. You're just kind of pissed off.
I agree. I think so. Like it's ODB, Meth, Raekwon, ODB, right?
Yeah.
And ODB,
yeah. That's how I have all my songs split.
He's quirky, but he does it in like an even more quirky way because it's endearing to him. It's perfect. I agree. When he's just another MC on a track, his delivery is fucking gold. It's untouchable. I don't think he can carry an album that well either. I think he's I don't want to say hype man because
he's not a hype man. Yeah,
he's not a hype man. But
because he actually has like verses and parts. Like Flavor Flav never really has that.
Right, exactly.
He's
he had like
strictly
one
like
fucking
a
song. I have 3 albums. Yeah.
I know. That was a good song though, right?
Yeah, it was a good song. It was a solid song. Why did you let him do more? But like ODB's not a hype man. He is a good partner, but he's not a lead character. So I do think he's more like a Will Ferrell. Like Will Ferrell's really, really great as a supporting actor, or if he's starring in his own movie, then he's also really great because he has great supporting actors around him. Like Anchorman. Anchorman's great, not because of Will Ferrell, but because of everything else.
Of everything, yeah.
But ODB's great. Meth, right? He's talking about his greatness and how he'll cut off the heads of anybody that thinks they're better than he is, already establishing that kind of like that Wu-Tang, that Shaolin style, the Kung Fu movie with the sword and everything. Raekwon, it's okay. Honestly, I think his verse is okay compared to the other things. I don't really like it that much. I'm going to say it.
And that says a lot.
And then we close it off with ODB. Dude, this last verse is dirty. Like he's embracing this image. He's building this character. He's raunchy and disgusting. Like, fuck, man. That last verse, ODB and Shame on a Ninja, it is absolutely perfect. It may be like one of my favorite verses on this record. It's just like, dude, you nailed it, bro. You did a good job. Good job.
And that piano loop underneath it too during ODB's last verse, that's fucking solid, man. It's good. It's the little nuance, the little touches like that where RZA will just add something to like the last verse or the last part of the song to kind of change it up a little bit, but still keep it, I don't know. I guess the same. That's supposed. I don't know.
Keep it kayfabe, bro.
I'm trying to say. Well, I don't think that really works, but that's fine. Lyrically, I mean, honestly, the lyrics on this record, there's some really cool wordplay. There's good like back and forth and shit like that. But it's really generally it's all about the same thing. It's all about, other crews and saying we're better than you and fuck you guys. And it's just like typical hip hop of this era, I feel.
But like, it's not just about, okay, so like what makes this great is it's not just about why the Wu-Tang is better than everybody else. It's also about why ODB is better than Meth, why Meth is better than Raekwon, why Raekwon is better than Ghostface. Like, it's not just like, hey, we're better than you, but it's also like infighting. It's also about like this podcast, right? Like why we always make fun of each other for having like, you have horrible taste and I have great taste. And so like why that always goes back and forth. It's like infighting. And then
it's because you say stupid shit like that.
Well, I see true shit like that. That's fine though. Don't derail you my thought here. It's about like the Wu-Tang inner fighting with each other and being able to push each other to be better hip hop artists, to be better rappers, to be better producers. Because some of these guys dabbled in production after this record came out, after their first like solo records came out, and it's I don't know. It's about pushing each other to be better people, and I think the Wu-Tang achieved that overall.
Well, what's so cool about this record, you talked about it, I think, on the Rankings episode on the Method Man solo record. There was Meth versus Chef, and that song was based off of it was essentially a rap battle between Meth and Raekwon, and obviously Meth won that one. And
there, dude.
Wait, was it Raekwon? Wait.
It was Raekwon. Yeah, Raekwon's the chef. But I don't know if I would
Meth
say Meth
won it.
Run, but.
But Method Man won that one. He did.
Dude.
But anyway, but my point was going to be that when they were making this record, this Wu-Tang record, RZA intentionally had them rap battle. Every guy would rap battle each other to see who was better, and then he would put them as the first verse, or they would be the lead, or whatever it may be. Like, he would structure the song based off of that particular rap battle. And there are moments on this record, like I can't remember the song off the top of my head right now, but I have it in my notes. But there's a song where GZA went up against the other guys, and GZA was so good, they're like, no, we don't want to rap after that. We don't want to rap after him. So he did the whole song. GZA did the whole fucking song.
Yeah.
So it's just it's cool shit like that. He would throw the beat out. They would battle over the beat. They would battle over the verses. And I thought, dude, what a cool way of writing a song. Like, I've never heard of any band, any hip hop group. I've never heard of anything like that. Everything is so collaborative. But he made this a competition, and I thought that was. I mean, it could be like it could turn out to be a total disaster. But in this case, it turned out so cool, and I just love it was like a healthy competition, because, like I was saying, like, these guys were brothers. Like, they didn't hate each other. They were just it was just all for fun, and it comes off that way too. And goofy, and I think that was just, it's so cool how they wrote this or came up with this record.
Yeah, I mean that's what it is. It's healthy competition, and really it stems from. Like, not all of these guys were like dirt poor. Like, a lot of these guys just didn't have a lot of money growing up. Some of them were poor. Not all of them were dirt poor, but like, they all knew that the rap game is probably not going to happen for them. So they're going to give it their all. They're going to do what they want to do, but ultimately they just want to hang out with their friends. I just want to hang out with my friends, Mom. And so that's ultimately what they're doing here. So there's not, it's basically like low risk, like high reward here, right? Like, they're not investing really a lot of money into this. They're not investing a lot of time into this. Like, some of these guys are in and out of fucking jail. Like, RZA almost went to prison for life for fucking murder. So, like, all this stuff is going on here. It's low risk, very high reward. And they did it because they're doing it with their boys. And they had a good time doing it. And they had no idea that it would blow up the way the way that it did.
No, you're right. And what I mean, kind of throwing it to the artwork and you talking about how, you know, these guys were in and out of jail for various reasons, but I just kind of like how there was it never really seemed like there was much of an ego with any of them. It was just like, well, you know, like in regards to the artwork, that day that they went to go do the photo shoot for the album art, fucking Method Man got busted for having possession of weed. So he was in jail. Capadonna was in jail for whatever reason. I think, another one of the guys was in jail. So there's only 6 of them on the actual album cover. It's not even all of them. They're like, well, we had the photo shoot, so let's just fucking do it. Like, but there was no like, well, why didn't you fucking wait for me? It was none of that shit. It was just, well, this is what's going on today. This is just how it has to play out. And it's like, no hurt feelings. It's like, you're still part of the group. You're still part of the collective, the family. But, you know, we had to get shit done. And this is, it's your fault for going to jail. It's just like, I love that. The lack of ego. You just don't see that shit.
And that's why the cover art, I think, is very important, because they are wearing masks. So you don't know who showed up to the photo shoot. And like, these guys are just like, they don't know they're going to blow up, right? Like Protection Neck, that was their first single that came out. And that started getting a lot of traction in like the underground scene. But again, this is early 90s. This is hip hop in the early 90s. Yeah. So like, then, you know, come on. That's not really going anywhere. Like, we got grunge coming out. Like, these white kids from Seattle are fucking making a ton of money. Like, what are we going to do? So they're all in like these masks because they don't want to, like, as the kids say, throw shade on the people that are not showing up to this photo shoot. But they still need to get the fucking shit done, right? They still need to get that photo shoot done. It still needs to happen.
And it made for a really cool album cover.
And then like the fucking music videos, right? The music videos for this area, for this album. This area. It's cool. Like, it's all the tracking on the bottom and the timestamps, and like, nah, just leave it in there because it looks fucking dope. And like, it looks so cool.
It does, yeah. It adds such a charm to the entire era of the band.
It's so error. There's no room for error. It's so raw, and like, raw is a word that's kind of used a lot. Like, we throw raw out a lot, but like, dude, 36 Chambers is raw, bro. Like, that is raw. That is like let's master it one time and just put it out. Let's not tinker with it whatsoever.
That's not fuss over. Yeah,
that's what this sounds like. And that was like ODB's thing. Like the whole fucking Bring the Ruckus, right? That was like ODB's thing. He would say, "Yo, we're thinking about this too hard. Let's just bring it. Ready, go. And like that was the way he brought like that fun aspect to the group, and that's how Bring the Ruckus came out. It was like ODB saying, let's just bring it. Let's just bring it. He'd always say, bring it, bring it, bring it. And so finally, let's bring the ruckus. And that's how bring the motherfucking ruckus. That's how this album opens up.
I know, it's incredible. It's an incredible opener.
It's so good.
Should we get into that song then?
Yeah.
Okay, that's my 3B.
That's my 2B.
Okay.
It's wild.
So yeah. No, I think it's one of the coolest openers, if not one of the best openers in hip hop. I mean, what? Because most hip hop records start with like a skit or an intro or some shit, but no, this one starts with bring the ruckus. It's something else, man. It's cool, and it's that heavy ass fucking beat too. It's so heavy, but I mean that's really the whole record, just the heavy ass, like just kind of slightly distorted beats, samples, because they just had shitty equipment, but it adds to the overall feel of the entire record. It's a great way to start it. Let's just say that.
I love this song because at like essentially the height of the gangster rap era. The gangster rap's coming up. Like Ice-T's already doing stuff. Like Schoolie D's already doing stuff. We're getting into the 90s now. And we open up this album by a bunch of guys that are like Raekwon was a fucking, like half these guys are gangsters by location. Not by choice. Gangsters by location. And we open up this album with a fucking kung fu movie sample. Like, what the fuck is this? Like,
from a super obscure movie too.
But that's what's so perfect is because like kung fu movies are so important to like the poor black people in this area, right? Because like they had no money, and so going to these like grindhouse films, all they showed there was like kung fu movies. And so why did they go to see the kung fu movies? Because it was a movie they could relate to, because the star of it was not a white person. It wasn't a black person, but at least it wasn't a white person. And like Bruce Lee like fought so hard to kind of get like the Chinese into the mainstream without looking weak and feeble, right? Because like, I don't know, movies for so long had made Chinese people, and like Mel Brooks made fun of it, and it was really funny with like the big teeth and the big eyes, and like that's what it did. So like black people like the kung fu movies in this era because they were cheap, and they could afford it, and it starred somebody that wasn't a white person.
Well, it's not only that, but a lot of those kung fu movies from the 70s, they were shown like on Saturday morning. Like instead of watching Saturday morning cartoons, like early in the morning, the kids in the area or like in the neighborhood or whatever, they would watch kung fu movies because that was like the alternative to watching the cartoons. So that was another thing too. It wasn't just shown in like, the matinee theaters, like the cheap theaters. It was because it was like one of the few things shown on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
That kids could watch.
But overall, like it was disenfranchised like poor people who went to these movie theaters and not watching the mainstream movies, or watching 2 for $1 on Saturdays, and it was kung fu movies. Yeah. And so they're watching these over and over and over, and they're like, after the Saturday morning cartoons were over, it was kung fu all day, and they watched these over and over. The whole fucking Wu-Tang thing is taken from a kung fu movie, so it's cool. It's cool that they opened up this thing with like instead of trying to be unique and trying to be different, like, no, dude, like here is actually what we are. Here, I think this is just so truthful, so honest, the way this opened up.
Yeah.
At the height of the gangster rap era too, like, come on.
And that's another thing. I mean, getting into the title and why they chose 36 chambers, which is kind of a myth, but should we get into that right now, or should we? Oh, we'll talk about that later. Let's stay on Bring the Ruckus.
I mean, throughout the year, I usually go to 2 phases, and I try and get the James Bond thing. I just can't. It's just those movies are just not very good. But I usually go through like a good like Western thing, like a good like old Western, not specifically spaghetti Westerns, just old Westerns, and like Kung Fu. Yeah. I go through like a good 2-3 weeks of Kung Fu, and this just happened to be like coinciding with that, and so I watched a lot of Kung Fu movies, and damn, they're good.
I mean, the 36 Chambers movie is really fucking good.
That is the greatest Kung Fu movie of all time.
It's so freaking good. Like,
it's the go.
What was his name? Gordon Liu. Wait, Gordon Liu. Yeah. Dude, the guy was in so many of these movies in the 70s and early 80s. Like, he was the person. And then even when Kill Bill came out, Quentin Tarantino casted him as like the Grand Master. I forgot what he was called in the Kill Bill movies. But, it's just like he is, outside of Bruce Lee, he is the face of Kung Fu, like hands down. And but yeah, 36 Chambers. That is such a cool movie. It's so much fun. The fighting's awesome. Yeah, no, it's great. And have you read like his kind of backstory a little bit?
Yeah,
like kind of how tragic it is.
Extremely tragic.
Oh my god, dude! The guy was like, he was a musician. Just real quick, he was a musician. He was playing with his band like in Singapore or something, like in 2000, like the like early 2010s, or like 2010, 2011. He had a stroke. He fell and hit his head, and he's pretty much been in a nursing home ever since.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I mean, he was like a self. A thing that he did himself. Like it wasn't that he was forced to go to a nursing home, but it's like he became so depressed because he wasn't able to do what he was used to be able to do. So he just became so depressed, checked himself into a nursing home. And he's been there ever since. And then like his ex-wife like came and like sued him for like everything, and he lost everything. Like his whole fucking story post that stroke is just, it's so fucking sad. So fucking sad. And he's just like fucking rotting away in some nursing home now. It's insane. But anyway, yeah. What
No, I could talk about Kung Fu all fucking day. I do think 36 Chambers is the greatest Kung Fu movie of all time.
I think it's fantastic.
And there's a move in there too. Like after this, so like the 36 Chambers, the whole thing. You go through each separate chamber, but one of the chambers he does in like the early times, I think it counts down. But he hops over logs. I think it goes down. I think you start at 36 and go down to 1, or maybe it's the other way around. Right?
No, it's the other way around because he creates the 36 chamber.
He creates the 36. That's what it is. You're right. Yeah. But like the first chamber he does, he's crossing the logs, and then you know what I mean. Like every step on the log, and they fall in the water. But there's a part after he crosses the log, and I never noticed till this week. But after he crosses the log, he's so confident in himself that he does it like on 1 foot, and he ends up on the other side, and he's on 1 foot. And let's say you're on your right foot balancing. You take your right hand, you grab your left foot, and then you jump, and your right leg goes through the gap.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That's a b-boy move, dude. That's a breakdancing move.
Well, it was a kung fu move first.
But that's again going into the lore, dude.
Going into the lore, yeah.
That's kung fu.
I don't remember him doing that.
Yeah, he fucking did it after he was like he's being a cocky little shit. And after he did that move, and like holy shit, dude, that's a fucking b-boy move. I never clicked. I never knew. I just never got it. But it's crazy like how intertwined like I don't know hip hop culture was with kung fu, and we've never heard about any of this outside of the Wu-Tang.
Yeah. Dude, and watching. I mean, because we did Wu-Tang like 3-4 years ago on the podcast, and it's not up anymore, and that's why we're redoing it. But back then, I remember we watched a bunch of kung fu movies then, and rewatching them now, it's just like, dude, they're all kind of the same. Like story wise, they're all pretty much the same.
Yeah,
like it's always like some guy having to get revenge because of so and so and his family, or his best friend was killed by this like, I don't know, a wealthy person or leader. Yeah, you know, it's always a revenge story, and it's always the same. They're weak, and then they grow strong, and then they come back, get their revenge, and kill them. You know, it's the same. And then they all end so abruptly.
Yeah,
there's nothing. It just ends.
There's no like decline into like the ending. It's just ending done.
It's like the final battle, and then that's it.
But dude, like talk about like fighting sequences and just to like, I don't know, put it in perspective, some of these kung fu movies from the 70s, and then you watch like lightsaber battles from some of George Lucas's shit, and it's like, bro, dude,
yeah.
Like, if you spent a little bit more money and hired people that like knew how to like actually like battle and do like cool shit, this movie could have been so much better, because some of these kung fu movie battle sequences in the early to mid 70s. Like even put like fucking even McGregor's like stuff to shame. They're so good. They're so tight. They're so perfect.
Well, have you seen the stuff from the prequels? The original original fights from the prequels, Star Wars prequels.
The ones where there's no like CGI or whatever. It's just like it's showing them like behind the scenes.
Well, it's them behind the scenes, but it's the actual people who choreographed it, and what was used. Like there's a thing where it shows the people who choreographed it and like their actual, how that was supposed to be in the movie. But obviously like Ewan McGregor or Hayden, whoever it is, they're not able to do all the super intricate stuff. So it's like a dumbed down version of what was originally meant to be in the movies. Like there's all these fucking videos about this. Like the actual, like the most fascinating one was the the original battle between in episode 3, the original battle between Palpatine and like the 6 other Jedi, the original like fight sequence was so much cooler than what you see in the movie. Way fucking cooler. And it's all like live. It's all real. Like it's not like a CGI or cartoon. It's the actual guy going in there and doing all the fighting, and then Palpatine and his stunt double did a lesser version of it. It's fucking so cool. It's so fucking cool. I recommend everybody go check it out. It's all on YouTube.
I've watched like a lot of their fight sequences and the reasons why things were the way that they were. And like the development of Hayden Christensen's like iconic behind the back lightsaber thing, and how that was kind of his idea, but also it's a dumb move, but it looks really good, but also serves a purpose. And then you watch the kung fu movies, and a lot of their battling, like the master is always like defensive, right? And so if you're trying to prove something to me, it's like you need to hit me. And then you watch like The Matrix, and you watch like Kill Bill, and that's the same fucking concept. It's like, you need to hit me. I am the master. Like, I can fuck you up if I want to fuck you up. You need to show everybody else that you can fuck me up. And so it's always, like, offensive. And, like, you watch, like, Hayden Christensen's progression from 2 and 3, and he gets a lot fucking better. He gets a lot tighter.
He does, yeah.
And he's a really, really good swordsman comparatively to other, people that probably never picked up a fucking sword in their goddamn life. Like you and I were to pick up a sword, right? Like, how great can we be in 2 years with $10 million behind us? Pretty fucking good, to be honest. But
Probably.
it's never as good as the kung fu movies. It's not.
Well, yeah, because those guys are trained from like as a kid, and they've spent
not all of them. A lot of them are just fucking actors.
But I mean, the big guys, like fucking what's his name? I can't even think of his name now.
I've seen videos of Bruce Lee hitting ping pong balls with nunchucks. I'm like, I don't know, dude. There's no fucking way that's real. There's no way.
I know Bruce Lee has always been like one of those things. Like was he real? Like, was some of it like camera tricks? Like, was he really that great? I don't know. Sometimes I have a hard time believing he was that great.
Like, there's an actual video of him hitting like ping pong balls with nunchucks.
I've seen that. Yeah,
proven to be false, and that's supposed to be like a documented fake thing. But then you see like these other like subsets with like Reddit threads where people are like, for whatever it's worth, well, I'm a fucking 10-year veteran of kung fu, and I know for a fact that my daddy said that he was there and saw him do that. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, that's just hearsay. You can't believe that shit.
I don't know.
But I mean, in all honesty, I feel like Bruce Lee was obviously he was good, really good and great at what he did. But I feel like the myth is bigger than how we actually, you know what I mean? Like,
but I think we perceive like kung fu people to be like actual fighters, and like this is just it's a movie, right? It's a fucking movie.
and really when you watch these kung fu movies that, like 36 Chambers and Shaolin versus Wu-Tang or whatever, a lot of that's choreography. Like, that's not actual fighting. No. Like, that's straight up choreography. When you watch a Bruce Lee movie, like, a lot of that looks like it was fighting. Obviously, it's choreographed, but it seems more brutal, more intense. Like, when you watch the fight between Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris, that looks like a fight. Obviously, it's choreographed, but it does look like a fight. But in these movies, they're just dancing. They're just dancing with each other. It's just a weird kind of dance, but they're dancing.
It's choreographed, but I think Bruce Lee's contribution to like movie history is bringing like Chinese culture, Chinese people out of being made fun of and then into being like stars of things, right? There would be no fucking Jackie Chan if it wasn't for Bruce Lee. Yeah,
and I think it was because he was half Chinese. Because like reading more about it, like Chinese people didn't like him because he was half white.
Yeah,
but I think that was the reason why he was so successful here, was because he was half white. And honestly, he was a good looking dude.
Fucking
absolutely
like
fucking
California.
ripped. Yeah, and he was. Look at his body. Like, he's considered to have like the perfect physique. You know what I mean? It's fucking crazy. And when you watch some of those movies, you're like, oh my god, dude! 5 minutes of him just flexing. It's like, come on, I don't want to watch some half naked dude flex for 5 minutes. It's just not for me.
It depends on the dude.
Enter the Dragon,
what if it's Tom DeLonge?
Well, that's different. Just kidding. But anyway, let's get back to this record.
All right. Anyway, Bring the Ruckus. That's my 2B.
Yeah, 3B for me. So the structure of this song, one reason why I feel it's a great opener is because you start out fucking straight out of the gate. First verse is with Ghostface just coming in super hard, commanding. Raekwon is also hard, but he's like we're seeing like a little bit more of a relaxed verse here, and then you get into Inspect the Deck. Super particular, very like I was saying in the rankings episode, the way he enunciates his words is just, it's so good. Like he is I love his flow. I love his style. I feel like he's really he's just super. I don't even know. Just I love the way he enunciates the words. Let's just say that it's smooth. It's great. And then you finish with the fourth verse with Jizza, just wrapping it up. Still just as commanding as Ghostface, but he has like this smoothness to it, and the smooth feel to his rapping. And I just feel like the progression through this 3.5 minute song is fantastic. Yeah. So Bring the Ruckus is that's my number 3.
Yeah, so like supposedly the whole bring the motherfucking ruckus. That was RZA. He's shouting that chorus as both like a hype thing to get everyone pumped up, but also to like pressure the guys into doing their best, because if it's not going to be their best, it's not going to make the album. And so like it's Ghostface, Raekwon, Inspecta, and Jizza. Go face yourself. Wrong. RZA or Ghostface, he comes in hard and aggressive. It's a perfect opening for the album because his flow here is crisp, it's slow, but it's a little meh. It's a little meh, to be honest. Like it's a little meh. I don't particularly think it's great. The Ghostface catch the blast of the hype verse, the Glock burst. It's choppy. It's choppy without any kind of.
But you need that aggression. You need that pull.
But that's how. So like I think this is a perfect opening song, but that's a good telling verse because it's like, okay, here's where we're at. Kind of here's where we're going. Here's where we're progressing. Raekwon gets better, right? Because he's a little bit more aggressive here. He already has like an aggressive voice to begin with. And that last line that he says is super fucking good. And that one's in the chamber, Wu-Tang banger, 36 Styles of Danger. Like that's cool. We're introducing the lore a little bit more. We're getting in there. Inspect the Deck, rad verse, furthering like the hardcore and raw aesthetic of the Wu-Tang. But like Jiz's closure, like that is like one of the best verses on the fucking album too. It's just, it's angry and aggressive. And it's saying he's more rugged than a slave man's boots. Like, dude, come on. We're already going out here hot. We're already coming in here fucking like guns a-blazing. It builds his character of his toughness while simultaneously like building his character through like racial indiscretions like these guys faced and over time. And it's perfect. It's good.
Yeah. It's amazing like how effective a record can be lyrically, and you don't have to like go out there and attack authority. You don't have to go out there and attack the world and everything. Like it's still like you could still be effective and not have to say as much. Does that make sense? Like your NWAs, your Public Enemies, you don't have to be as overt as those guys do to still be effective. And I love that. And I think that's why like so many people attach themselves to Wu-Tang. Like it's all that subject matter is in there, but it's not the focal point it's not the message of the group. Like it gives them so much more range as to what they could talk about, what they can do, because they're not going to be typecasted. They're not going to be anything like that. So,
and that fits in with like the kung fu aesthetic, right? Like these guys are very like what do you call it? Like self-masturbatory, right? Like just very like they can if they wanted to. Very much like in kung fu movies, we see like the master, right? The master just doesn't go out and fuck everybody else up. No, he kind of sits back and he chills and he waits and somebody like comes up to him, then he fucking demolishes them, much like the Wu-Tang. Like that's like the Wu-Tang Clan. They can fuck people up if they want to, but they don't. They choose their battles. They don't need to.
Yeah. And that kind of like goes in the theme with the 36 chambers, because the idea in the movie is that, you know, to get your own chamber, to get to the top, you have to go through all of these other guys to get to the best, to get to really make yourself known. And that's how it is with this. Like you got to go through every single guy to really kind of show your worth, I guess you could say. It kind of works in the same way, theme-wise.
Do you remember what the 36 chamber was from the movie 36 Chambers?
The 36 chamber, wasn't it where Gordon, or the character, his idea was to go spread the to spread the word
love.
of it, to spread it. Yeah, instead of keeping it within the temple. So that is the 36 chambers.
Yes, so good, right? So like
it's really good.
Like these guys are fucking making this album, the 36 chamber, like coinciding with the kung fu aesthetic, but also trying to like say like, yeah, we should just spread the love of like hip hop, of music, of just doing what you want to do.
Yeah. Have fun. Really,
yeah,
that's
good.
That in the end, that's like the overall message. Let's just have fun.
And there's so much fun in this record. It's all fun. There's not one
even though
song
they sound
that's
pissed
not
off. Yeah, even though they sound pissed off a lot, like they're all having a blast.
They're all
Fucking
fucking
love it.
smoking and drinking and goofing off.
Well, and then, I like when they recorded this record too. I forgot what studio it was, but it was somewhere in New York, and it was so small that like they would like pack like 8 or 9 of the guys into the studio, and they will all just kind of like battle over what they were doing, like in this tiny ass fucking room. Like, how does that happen? Like, nobody does that in like when you're creating music. You don't get all 8 or 9 guys in the group. Like the guys from Slipknot, they're not all going in there at the same time doing their shit and battling over something. You know what I mean? It was just so unique. Everything about this group is so unique, and there's really nothing like it.
There's this trend of like modern day, like Instagram videos where somebody will do the most minor of like tasks, and like a group of like 25 people around them will just go nuts over like the completion of said task, right? Like, and that's just like a viral thing people do on Instagram, because I watch a lot of reels and that's what happens. But this is the equivalent of that back in like the early 90s. Is you get a group of guys together, and more often than not, the verses they would spit like in the recording studio weren't that great, and they'd be like, "Yeah, that wasn't that great. All right, let's get Raekwon in there. Nah, that wasn't that great. Inspector, you get in there next." And then he would do like, "That's it, fuck yeah." And like all 10 of them would be like, "That's it, that's it." Even the guys that he bested would still go, "Yeah, that's it, that's it. You fucked me. That's a good one. Let's do that."
Yeah,
yep. The most
everybody
humble
gets their shot
of all things, right? Like
it's humble. Everybody gets their fucking shot. I fucking love it. And then they all like, what's cool about it too is like they congratulate one another about it. Like, nah, dude, you're way better than me. Like, I'm gonna take a step back. Like I was saying earlier with the Jesus song, it's like, yeah, you fucking killed it. You nailed it. We can't follow you. Like I can't follow you. None of us can follow you. I love that humbleness. It's fantastic. It's so goddamn good. But really, I think overall, I'm not. This is not a wrap up at all. But overall, the guy who really exudes the most confidence is Method Man, like through and through. The guy can control the verses. He can control the choruses if there even is a chorus. He can control the hook, whatever it may be. He's a jack of all trades. He's honestly, objectively, he's the best part of this record. You'd have to agree with me on that.
Okay, well. Like, do you think he's more?
Come on.
Okay, so like,
he has more to offer.
Most important.
He has more to offer. He has more to offer to the record than the rest of the guys. The overall.
Okay,
so record.
If you take RZA out of this equation entirely.
Okay, well, yeah, take it obviously.
Okay, so he objectively RZA is the most important, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Of course.
You take like Inspector Deck out of this record. Are we missing anything?
No.
Maybe a verse here or there, whatever.
But nothing, yeah.
I think Method and ODB are the most important parts outside of the production to this record. Yes. If you take ODB out, you have no fun. If you take Method out, you have no swag.
That's true. But also, ODB can't. He's shown on this record that he can't do a full song by himself. Method can do a full song. And also, he can do verses, like just standalone, like a standalone verse. He could honestly do it better than ODB most of the time. He doesn't have the quirkiness of ODB, but he could do the verses better smooth-wise. Like he's smoother. He does have some quirkiness to him in some of the songs, which we'll get into. And then, he could hit a hook really, really well, honestly better than ODB. The only thing ODB has over Method Man is that he's quirkier. He's more off the wall, but that's about it. That's really that's about it.
That's everything. That's everything.
That's all he has to offer.
Hip hop is very, very, it's very serious overall. There's a lot of seriousness in hip hop. There's very rarely. That's why I like Farside so much, is because they're very unserious in a very serious era of hip hop. So I think, man, I would have loved to hear like at this era, because the Method Man had the first fucking solo project, right? The first solo album. outside of like just doing his first album before the Wu-Tang formed. But like Method had the first solo album of anybody, and I would have loved to hear a Method and ODB like collaboration because
that'd have been cool.
Because ODB just like the dude did not give a shit about anything, like in personal life, like in music, like just did not give a shit about anything. Just wanted to have fun, just wanted to hang out with the boys and party. And I think Method had the same mindset, but it came across smoother musically and lyrically with Method Man. Like
He's more articulate.
It's just a very charismatic guy, like a guy that you listen to rap and you're like, dude, I would hang out with you. You sound cool.
And to kind of throw back too to like how humble he seems or he is. I saw an interview a few weeks back or maybe a month ago, and he was interviewing the Beastie Boys back in maybe like 2005 or something like that. He was interviewing the Beastie Boys, and he was totally fanboying over them. He just was talking about, oh my God, what you guys were doing on Paul's Boutique was so great, you know. And he was dropping some like pretty deep knowledge, and you're like, dude, this guy's an actual fan. And they seem kind of like awkward about it. They were unsure how to take it, but he was acting like some fan that would like run into the Beastie Boys on the street. It was super cool, like to just see how humble he was to the Beastie Boys. It's just like, dude, what you did for hip hop arguably is more important than what the Beastie Boys did. Although, I mean, what the Beastie Boys did was so fucking important, but objectively Wu-Tang was more so, and yet you're fanboying the fuck over the Beastie Boys. It's just, I love that. It was such a cool little interview, but they were so uncomfortable about it too. It was great
because like there's the Wu-Tang Clan is fucking Method Man, right? Like what are you gonna do? Come on, that's silly boy talk. And the Beastie Boys are great. Like they're great, but I mean their impact on like hip hop culture is really just bringing like white rock into hip hop culture, whereas
or bringing white people into hip hop. That's really what it was.
Yeah, straight up. I mean like blues with Elvis and rock and roll. Like that's what it is. That's what happened.
Like the Beastie Boys and Eminem were arguably the biggest things when it comes to bridging the gap between white people and hip hop.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, that's like literally why I got into hip hop was because of the Beastie Boys, because I heard like fucking early Beastie Boys shit and I was like, oh, this is fucking cool. It still has like the Green Day aesthetic, but they're rapping and that's cool. I like that. And that was it. Open the floodgates, baby boy.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
So good.
And also when you think about Method Man,
oh, you can't see.
Method Man goes and fucking plays on a Limp Bizkit track. All the bands that he could record a song with, he goes to Limp Bizkit and to Fred Durst, and they do that song together. It's just like, that is so fucking cool. So cool.
Because he just wants to party. He just wants to have fun.
I know. It also goes to show that like how cool Fred Durst is, and you know how we were just all led so astray by him or by the media. You know, everybody always portrayed him as such an asshole, but Fred Durst is fucking super rad.
It's just, I don't know. Hip hop can get very, very serious very fast, and when it does, it can be very overwhelmingly aggressive and not fun. So there's got to be some fun aspect to music sometimes. I know Raekwon's album wasn't very fun, but it's good. All right, anyway,
it's fine.
What's your 2B?
So my 2B is Method Man. I don't care.
METHOD man.
I don't know why you don't like this song.
That's my 4B. What do you come
like
on?
You like freaked out when you're like, Method Man better not be your number one. You're a little bitch fit about it.
You get off my cloud. So good. He didn't even know why he likes that fucking verse, but he does. Did you watch that fucking like interview that he did?
I sent you that video,
dude,
you motherfucker.
I've seen that video. I've seen that video like a fucking 35 times.
But you're asking me like, have you ever seen that video? Of course, I sent you the goddamn video.
You sent me a lot of stupid videos. A lot of Jonathan Davis fucking doing.
Oh my god.
Solo scatting without any.
Now
kind
you're
of
just making things
background
up.
noise. Is just
because you're embarrassed. You're embarrassed, or you're making things up. But that's fine. Let's continue.
I'm embarrassed or making things up.
Well, both.
Okay.
It's not or. It's both.
Oh, you said or.
Anyway, yeah. So you know, in that interview, Method Man was talking about how, you know, he took like from songs that he didn't even really he had heard, but he didn't know the lyrics to, so he just would make up his own lyrics, and that's kind of what he does in this song. He just kind of pulls from like Come Together from the Beatles or a Hall & Oates song. I don't remember what the song was. Some Michael Jackson shit. Like he's just like throwing in random things just because to him it sounds good with the beat and his flow and everything. And I love just kind of how freeing that is. Like he's not overthinking anything. He's just kind of going along and thinking, okay, this melody that I can't really sing well, I'll just try it. I'll fucking go for it. And he does, and it for some reason it works.
That's what's so
he's got
good.
It's the confidence, man. He's got the
exactly.
confidence.
He's got the swag, as the kids say.
Yeah.
The fucking kid's got swag, dude. So like it's called Method of Modern Love. That's a Hall & Oates song from like the mid '80s. They say METHOD and then they say LOVE or whatever the fuck it is. Who gives a fuck about Hall & Oates? Couple good songs, but overall, who gives a fuck? But Method Man thinks that the hey you get off of my cloud is a Bootsy Collins cover, right? Or he's sampling Bootsy Collins.
Doesn't know it's a.
But he doesn't realize that Bootsy Collins was sampling like Rolling Stones, and it's like that's that's the fucking cool, like honest kind of like thing you say where like yes, this is what influenced me was that Bootsy Collins sample. But like not kind of like digging further into realizing the Bootsy Collins sampled this, and like obviously the Rolling Stones are essentially a ripoff of all American like rhythm and blues songs, which are ripoff of this and this and this and this and go back. But it's cool that he was just, I don't know, confident enough to say that that's where I got it from was Bootsy Collins.
I think it was like I think the quote was something like, "Yeah, I don't have an extensive record collection, but I have a lot of memories of listening to records." I think that's what he said, something along those lines in that quote. I thought, damn, dude, that's cool. It just shows his character, his humbleness. Like, yeah, I just love the nonchalant view on his music making abilities. It's so fucking cool, man. It's so cool. And also the within the song itself, the way he's just able to change up the style at like the snap of a finger. Like he'll just immediately jump into something for no reason. It doesn't even make sense. But once again, he's got the feel, he's got the swagger, like you said earlier.
I guess let's backtrack a little bit. Let's talk about the intro, right, with him and Chef and Raekwon.
Oh yeah,
talking about the torture stuff, which is like by like today's standards is still pretty fucking tame compared to like Eli Roth and Hostel and Saw and everything else that's fucking going on. But dude, some of this stuff is so funny. Like when Method Man talks about like burning stuff, he goes whatever that noise that TSS is, that yes, dude, that shit fucking that's so goddamn funny. Every time I laugh so hard, like you're nuts on a fucking dresser. Like
he's always stuttering, like he's trying to think of the next thing to say. Like it just goes to show that whole thing was improvised too. There's not going to be that much stuttering. Like it was so authentic too. I don't really like the skits on this one, but that one
that's the best
acceptable
skit.
Because
that may be like the best skit of all time in hip hop, right? That's it's fucking
so natural.
Funny.
It's so natural, and we've all kind of had that friend, or friends, where like you kind of say fucked up shit like that to kind of shock the other person.
Yeah,
we've all kind of had that.
After the Aristocats movie or the Aristocrats movie came out, that's all.
Or even before that.
That's all.
Yeah, or even before that. Yeah. But it's such like a
feeding you.
I feel like it's a very kind of like man, maybe it's not a sexist thing, but it's a very like boy thing to do, to kind of like one up your friends like that in such a dumb way,
in the most like aggressively disgusting, foul, nasty way possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, still very funny.
Yeah, it was good. It's a great skit to start out the whole thing. But
yeah, I don't know. Good song. That was my 4B. I don't
know. All right. So what do we got? What do we got left? So yeah, Bring the Ruckus was my 3. 4 was Method Man. My 4 is Cream.
Cash rolls everything around me.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Drugs roll everything around me.
The Transplant. You like that version better? The Transplant version.
The Transplant version is better for sure.
So what do you got on this one? What do you got? Not the Transplants, but what do you got on the Wu-Tang one?
That's my 3B. Cream is my 3B. Cream is arguably like the most iconic. It's his top 5 most like iconic hip hop songs of all time. Like it is something that all hip hop artists, old and new, like kind of say, oh yeah, that was a fucking good fucking song. That is, well, that's a chorus, dude. That's a catchy chorus, dude. Like that's. Come on, man. Like we have not heard a catchy chorus like that in gangster rap in a while.
Unless it was done by like a third party, like some rant, like Nate Dogg or something.
Yeah.
It's just. But when it comes to the actual group or the main artist, they're not doing those big hooks or anything. And I'm not even saying this is like a big hook, but it's probably the hookiest thing on the entire record. And it's Method Man.
Yeah,
of course, he's the one that pulls it off.
It's very hooky, very iconic. I don't know. It's good. I really don't. I don't have a lot of notes for this one because it's just kind of like face value. It's superficial.
It is.
It's about
and
like,
even
them fucking growing up with like trying to like survive via cash.
Yeah, and there's really only two verses. I mean, Raekwon has the first, and then Inspector Deck has the second.
The other one.
I mean, fucking smooth.
This
man.
is his best verse on the album, though. Inspector Deck.
You think
this
so?
is his best verse. Yes.
Okay.
It's dark. It goes from talking about like his arrest, the institutional like racism and like justice system, to pleading like that the kids shouldn't have to like grow up so poor, to thoughts about suicide, to depression and feeling oppressed in the world. Like, dude, this is like, dude, it's amazing. It essentially ends too with like the first noble truth in like Buddhism, and that life is suffering. It is. Yeah, it's his fucking best. It's
solid,
his
man.
Best.
And yet the song is called Cash Rules Everything Around Me. Dollar bill.
Cream get the pound, dollar bill, y'all. How does the Transplants version go? Drugs will everything around
I don't know.
me.
I do not
Tall
remember.
cans in the air.
I mean, that's honestly like the worst song on that Transplants record.
Yeah.
It really is the worst song. It's fine.
That's my favorite song on that Transplant record.
That's no.
But like it makes sense, right? Like it's keeping it kayfabe. Like that's my favorite song on the Transplant record because it reminds me of this song, and I love the song. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, he sings it just like Method Man does,
except
yells it.
Except that Method Man doesn't sing it; he kind of just talks, and he's making fun of himself while singing. Whereas like Rob is pretending to actually sing, and he sounds like shit.
Tough guy over here.
Tough guy singing. Yeah, I don't know.
All right, so yeah, Cream is your number 3. That's my 4. What do you got for your number 5?
I don't have a number 5. Like I said, I only have 4 of my top Bs. Everything else, I just think is a banger. The only other song, if we were to like cut it, I would want to talk about is Protection Neck.
Yeah, that's a good. That's my. I rank that as my 10B.
Ooh.
It's really good, and I get that it's important because it was like the first single, but I feel like there's not a lot here. You could tell that it was like an earlier song. It doesn't fit the rest of the record, I feel.
This is what I call like proving ground Wu-Tang. This is them like putting just something out. Like, hey, like what are we about? Let's put something out as fast as possible. They're super eager. Like Inspector Deck went first, and like Raekwon said his like second verse, and it was.
I mean, this is all of them. I feel like the songs on here that feature everybody gets their own verse. Those are some of the weaker songs. I feel like it's too scattered. There's no. It's just. I don't know. There's not much to these songs really. Was it Protect Your Neck? And there's another one where all of them are on it, but I can't think.
I think when you have too many like people, it was can it all be so simple? That's one like everybody.
Yeah.
You can't produce a song to really prop up everybody else's strengths when there's like 9 people fucking rapping on something. It's not possible. You're not gonna be able to do it.
But what I did notice also when there were songs with like not all of them, but like when there was like 4 or 5 of them on a song, Jizza always rounded it out.
Yeah,
every time Jizza was
like
always
the
last.
Dude, he's like the fucking dad. He really is.
But that also goes back to the point like nobody wants to rap after Jizza. That's so fucking funny. Like that was like the consistent theme on this entire record for the most part is that Jizza got the last verse.
Because when he fucking speaks, you're done. Like that's it.
Exactly.
You're done, bro.
The guy was the guy. This is what I'm saying. Like his solo record is so fucking good. I don't know why you ranked it so low. It makes no sense.
Because
Liquid Swords record,
much like a lot of other people in the group, I just don't think he needs other people. Like why?
God, Raekwon is just so one dimensional.
Are you so happy? Hold on there, dude. Like
the fact that you ranked Raekwon your number 1 solo one.
I didn't just rank him my number 1. I ranked like his record like one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time. Like you missed that one. I tried to forget it. That was the thing.
Because it's such a silly thing to say.
Okay. Well.
Silly boy talk. Anyway. But Protect Your Neck. Yeah, this is... You could tell this is just... It doesn't really fit the record. It really doesn't. It's later on in the record, too. It's like not the third to last song or something like that.
Yeah, it was the first single. It was like the first true like I don't know introduction to the Wu-Tang Clan. It was written like a year before this album even came out, or released many months before this album came out, and they didn't realize it was going to be so big, and it got fucking just massive, and it got a lot of airplay, and everybody loved it. So like this is the Wu-Tang. And like did the artwork for this with the little book and the fucking sword underneath the book. That's cool.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah,
that's cool artwork.
Yeah, that is cool. Yeah, it really is. It's fine.
I don't know.
Damn, I lost my train of thought. Oh, you know what I wanted to like kind of go back to. We talked about, or I kind of brought up the title of the record, 36 Chambers, and kind of the myth or the lore behind that, like how it was intentional. They chose 36 chambers because at the time there were 9 guys. There are 4 chambers in your heart, and then you had to like what's the lore? Like there's a lot of, like all this math shit going on that fans and people have kind of made up over the years.
Whatever you call that thing, where you like retcon things. That's what's happening with all that shit.
Essentially. But it's just kind of like with anything you could do that. You could do that with anything, but just kind of, I don't know. It was cool. I don't know what I'm trying to get at. I'm all over the place. I can't even think straight.
It's a lot of lore.
But it's a lot of fun, and it's great.
A lot of fun. Yeah.
I mean, really, the only other song I kind of wanted to touch upon, we don't have to get super into it, but is Wu-Tang Clan Ain't Nothing to Fuck With.
Wu-Tang Clan Ain't Nothing to Fuck
With. I mean, who
with.
doesn't like to sing that? Who does not like to sing that one?
Dude, that opening with like the this tiger style would defeat your... that's from Executioners of Shaolin, which was the first character.
I didn't watch that one.
Dude, it's so good. That was the first time we saw the character of Pei Wei, I think is his fucking name. But the dude with the white beard from the Kill Bill movies.
Yeah.
Right? Like that character that Gordon Liu that played later on. Like Clan of the White Lotus style. Like
that's a good one.
Like that's all from the same lore. But yeah, I love this chorus. It's shouty, it's catchy, and it calls back to like even earlier songs by the Wu-Tang Clan, and it's funny.
Have you always kind of like? I've always thought that one sample, it sounds like them cracking their knuckles, like in a really shitty way, like a really shitty sound quality way. Like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
There's that sample that runs through the whole song, but it's like that clicking sound, but it sounds like somebody cracking their knuckles, like in a really shitty microphone.
Maybe. No.
I don't know. Was that what I don't know what it is. I'm just curious. Like, what is that? What is that sound? Is it somebody actually cracking their knuckles? Or is it just like, I don't know. I've never been able to figure it out, and I don't know. Anyway, it's a good song. RZA starts with the first verse, Deck does the second, Method does the last. It's an interesting. I feel like it's an interesting, setup. Having RZA start out the whole song.
Like RZA isn't a great rapper, but like you said earlier, he knows how to utilize his rapping style to the production techniques. Because, like, I don't know why you don't like Christine McVie, but she also did the same thing. Like, she knows how to utilize her voice and play the piano appropriately to make her voice be better. Riz is the same way with production. He knows how to make his rapping style better via production. But then, like, you get to Inspect the Deck, and that's just... Obviously, he's just a better all-around than RZA. And then we close out with Method, and come on. Easy.
But I will say, with Method, this is probably the weakest verse he's ever had on the entire record. Because
he's lazy.
Well, because, I mean, RZA comes in hard. He comes in pissed as fuck. And then Deck comes in, even harder than RZA because he's a better, he's a better rapper. And then there's some like really like toward the end of his verse, there's some good like back and forth, some good backup stuff going on. But then Method comes in and he does what he does best, but it doesn't fit the flow. Like there's no transition. Like had like, I don't know who would have come in between Inspect the Deck and Method, but it was too hard, too aggressive, and then it just drops into Method's verse, and it's just I felt like there needed to be a better transition into it. Like maybe like ODB does a verse and then Method does the final verse. I feel like that would have been better, a better transition, a better flow. But otherwise, this song's iconic too.
But then like Inspect the Deck really, talks about like taking his cake and eating it too. Like that's
yeah,
that's dope. I like that.
Yeah. Yep.
That's
Yep.
good.
Yep.
That's good. That's good.
All right. So I don't know. I'm good about. I'm good with this album. Honestly, I'm ready
I'm good.
to wrap up.
Yeah, let's wrap it up, kid.
Wrap it up. All right, so let's give our final thoughts on this record. Let's rank this or rate this record based off of our world famous 3-point rating system, where 3 is a perfect album, 2 is a good album you're going to continue to listen to, 1 is a bad album, give it a shot, and 0 is the worst thing you've ever heard. So, what do you got, Jeff? Go.
I love this album. I loved it since the day I've heard it, but I've loved it more every time I listen to it, and the more Kung Fu I watch, I enjoy it. Because Kung Fu is just fun. It's all the same, but it's really fun. And learning more just about like the interaction between cultures and then how it affects like our culture in America, and it's all fun. It's all fun and games. This record did a lot for like hip hop music. Again, like my favorite hip hop album, my favorite subjectively my favorite hip hop album of all time is the Far Side's record, Bizarre Ride 2.
That's crazy.
But like objectively, I think this is the greatest hip hop record of all time. I think it did a lot for hip hop. I think it showed people that you can have other people on your record and not be a dick about it. I think you can fight people and battle people and be okay with it, and have lore and have a universe. Build your thing, dude. Like build a brand.
Mm-hmm.
And like we didn't even touch upon the brand of Wu-Tang, but like if you don't have the fucking
it's
Wu-Tang
huge.
brand, then you fucking dumb, bro. You're living under a rock.
Talk
This
about like one
is-
of the coolest logos too.
God, the coolest of all.
Love the
logos. They
logo.
paid the guy like $500 for that shit too back in the day, which is
crazy.
fair because the guy never knew they would blow up this way. So whatever. I don't know. Like I said earlier, this is a perfect record. I think objectively, I think this is the greatest hip hop record of all time. The best of the best. Jerry.
The best, Jerry. The best.
Done.
My final thoughts. I agree with you. This is objectively one of the greatest hip hop records of all time. Up there with The Chronic. I feel like The Chronic, objectively, The Chronic, this, I would even say College Dropout, because College Dropout paved the way for more modern hip hop. I would say like they're in the top 3. Those 3. Wouldn't you
The
agree?
Chronic, College Dropout, in 36 Chambers, top 3.
36 Chambers. Yeah, I would say so. Because
Okay.
Kanye really, really helped from a musical production standpoint to bring in what we know hip hop in the last 15, 20 years.
Okay. Those are
That's
opinions,
fair,
dude.
right?
Those are
I mean, I don't
opinions,
know.
dude.
I would kind of like to argue about it or like talk about it at least.
Last time we argued about hip hop,
But like college dropout.
I guess we were triggered by Blink anyway, so it wasn't a fair argument.
It was different because you were only bringing up like shitty hip hop of like Kendrick Lamar.
And I was really triggered by the whole Blink thing too. Like I was very upset that day.
You're fussy.
I was very I was very fussy. That is true.
Such a disrespectful thing to say to somebody too.
Well, I was
Love it.
I was very fussy.
But you were fussy, yeah, you were.
No, I would.
But anyway,
I don't know. I would say Kanye should be in the conversation of like the greatest. I wouldn't put him at the greatest.
But he's up there objectively because I feel like he's one of the most influential. Obviously, he was inspired by Wu-Tang and shit like that, but he's very, very influential.
It really,
You can't deny that.
man. It really like boils down to like where we are, where we are at now versus like where hip hop started. Do we like where we're at? If we do like where we're at, how do we get here? If we don't like where we're at, like where do we go wrong? And so if you do like where we are, dude, why is it so hard to fucking say? Where we are at. If you do like that, then how do we get here? And then how do you rank those albums? If you don't like where we're at, then how do you rank those albums also? Because there's some fucking albums that like directly influence where we're at now.
True.
Like, you don't like The Boy, but Kendrick Lamar is a direct influence on where we're at in hip hop today.
But didn't Dre produce Kendrick?
But also like throw back a little bit else, like Outkast, like Stankonia. Stankonia was like a big influence on Kendrick and that album. And that's where we're at today is because of those things. So,
And I would say Stankonia is objectively their most important record. I mean, I would say it's their best record as well. But I think
Stankonia is
objectively
Outkast's
too,
for
it's-
sure like most important record, I think, because
Yeah.
that put hip hop into the like officially into the pop realm. Like we are now
Yeah,
making pop songs out of hip hop songs. Like Miss Jackson,
That's true.
B.O.B., So Fresh, So Clean. These are pop songs from a hip hop outfit. So
That's true.
I don't know.
that's like a whole nother episode we can get into. Like we could do like
so
a hip hop
good.
fucking episode.
So good.
But anyway, yeah. Wu-Tang, this one, objectively, I agree with you. One of the most important records ever. Subjectively, this is a top 5. I would say top 5 hip hop record, possibly not top. Let's say top 3. Fuck it, top 3. Subjectively, best record, hip hop record ever. Like we were saying, I just love how just there was so little ego, how humble everybody was, the brotherhood of it all. It's so different, so unique. There's been nothing like this, I feel, in hip hop, or even really in rock music in general. There's been nothing like this, and it's fantastic. I love it. Just RZA's production is amazing. The rapping on from everybody. I mean, as much shit as I've talked on Raekwon and Ghostface and shit, dude, their shit was fucking awesome. It's so goddamn good.
There's no weak parts on this album.
There's no. Everybody, even like fucking You God. Like he had like what 2-3 verses on this record. His verses are fucking good too. His solo records, not very good, but his verses on this record, fucking solid. So everybody brought their A game. Everything sounds good on this record. This is a perfect 3 out of 3. This is just stupid if you don't think it's a 3 out of 3.
Oh,
come on. We all know this is 3 out of 3. You're just silly if you don't think that.
Okay.
You don't even like music.
Okay.
At that point.
Okay.
But anyway, 3 out of 3. Perfect album.
So good.
That's all they got. You have anything else?
These are always like the most fun episodes because there's not a lot like dissecting this album specifically. There's not a lot there, but all the extracurriculars that surround this album is just we go for days. We honestly could go for days. I go for
but
days.
then also the extracurriculars directly affect this record because everybody has their own unique thing. They really do. Every member has their own unique thing, which when you bring it into the whole collective that is Wu-Tang, it creates something truly special. And with 9 guys like this, fuck
10.
man, it's so rare. Well, okay, Capadonna wasn't on this, but okay, that's fine. We could keep going down that road, but
fucking hates them.
Oh, that record's not that great. Anyway, so do you have anything else on this record?
No, that's it. That's all. Hopefully, I get
thank you all for listening. Possibly. Thank you all for listening. Go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, give us 5 stars, tell all your friends, share this with everybody, and that's it. That's all.
Keep it up.